Now, I get so many emails from you guys about the WEF. Why don't you talk more about the WEF? Well, somebody that did talk at Davos, and I never get invited, obviously, but someone that did talk at Davos was the president of the Heritage Foundation. His name is Kevin Roberts. And here he was, in action at Davos.
Political elites tell the average people on 3 or 4 or 5 issues that the reality is X, when in fact reality is Y. Take immigration. Elites tell us that open borders and even illegal immigration are okay. The average person tells us in the United States that both rob them of the American way of life. They're right. Elites also tell us that public safety isn't a problem in big American cities. Just travel to New York or Washington or Dallas, Texas. The average person will tell you that the lack of public safety damages not just the American way of life, but their life. Elites tell us that we have this existential crisis with so-called climate change, so much so that climate alarmism is probably the greatest cause for mental health crisis in the world. The solutions, the average person know, based on climate change, are far worse and more harmful and cost more human lives, especially in Europe during the time that you need heating, than do the problem and the problems themselves.
Well, that was Kevin Roberts at Davos, World Economic Forum sponsored event. He was the heretic in the room. Reminds me a bit of my time in the European Parliament, and Kevin joins me in the studio. Welcome. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. How did that go down at Davos?
Well, as you would imagine, the people in the audience were aghast. And in fact, I had someone say, you must have channeled your inner Nigel Farage. Well, of course I did. What better person would there be? But the good news is people around the world, not because of what the fact that I said it, but the fact that the message was right, have really been galvanized by that. And it's good news. I think even, here in the UK, where you have a tough election cycle, there are many places around the world where people have stood up and said, we're going to stand up for sovereignty. We're going to stand up for our freedom. We're going to stand up for common sense governance. And so in the long view, Nigel, I actually think the response to that WEF message is one that really has caused people to say, we're going to stand up for our rights.
Yeah, no. And we are seeing, in fact, quite a move, aren't we? The centre of gravity of debate amongst folk in Western countries has changed significantly over the last 18 months. And indeed, we're seeing many more conservative-minded parties doing well. We've got a few problems in this country at the moment, but we'll skip over that for now. Now, you nasty people at the Heritage Foundation.
That's us.
You're going after the adored Prince Harry, and you're actually going as far as to seek, legal means to find out whether... So the question is, did he lie on the visa form, or was the book a complete fabrication?
It's one or the other. And I'll just say from this American friend who loves the United Kingdom and is grateful to it, and to all of you, this has nothing to do with sort of American hostility to the monarchy. We settled that question a long time ago.
The Americans are jealous of our monarchy, aren't they?
Some Americans are. In fact, I'm married to an American who's jealous of your monarchy. All of that to say.
And the Queen, of course, was just adored.
Oh, my gosh. What an icon for actually these very things we're talking about.
And funny enough, Harry, 10 years ago, was, I think, the most popular royal.
He was?
Almost I'd ever seen. I mean, teenagers thought the monarchy was cool. And then he met Meghan and things changed.
So blame the American.
Well, we did have an American divorcee in the 1930s, caused a few problems and led to an abdication. So we've seen the, touche on the history side of it. But so I think what you're saying, clearly, even though I'm sure the book did contain fabrications, the fact that he took a succession of illegal drugs has not been a secret at all. Everyone knew this anyway. So do we assume, okay, if I go into America and I write down on the visa form that I've been a regular drug user, I will be refused, won't I?
Yes, particularly if you do.
Well, quite, yeah.
But that's just the point, is that in the United States, we believe that everyone must be treated equally. It has nothing to do with someone's title. And so one of two things is true, and either of these would be a problem. We're going to find out in the next few weeks, Nigel, which of these it is. Either he lied, and the American government let him get away with that and didn't turn him around, which is what they would do to every other migrant. Keep in mind, we have 10 million illegal aliens who've come into this country during this period. Or he told the truth, and he would be turned around or at least delayed long enough to figure out about the drug use.
Or, is it possible, sources close to Harry say he told the truth on the visa form. That can mean whatever you want it to mean. Is it possible that he did tell the truth and was given an exemption because of who he is?
There is no doubt in my mind that if, in fact, it is true that, as his associate said, that he told the truth, that he was given preferential treatment because of who he is and also because of who the American administration happens to be.
Which raises a very interesting question. If, let's say, a Republican president was to win the election on November the 5th, he could reopen this, couldn't he?
He sure could, and that is a very exciting prospect, isn't it?
You're being a bit vindictive.
No, we're being just.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you've certainly been pursuing this, very, very strongly indeed. Now, a really interesting development, folks, that happened just a couple of hours ago, and it's this. It's that the US House of Representatives has overwhelmingly passed a bill to force ByteDance, who are the company that own the majority stake in TikTok, to divest of the shareholding or face a ban 6 months from now. Bear in mind that 170 million Americans are on TikTok. Now, I understand, Kevin, that you again, Heritage have been heavily involved in this.
We have been, and our problem is not with TikTok per se, and certainly not with the advantage that TikTok presents us. You yourself use TikTok with great effectiveness to reach a younger audience. Those of us with our particular political beliefs need to do a better job of that. Our problem is with the following. The Chinese Communist Party has a controlling interest in TikTok, and it is an open and shut factual case that anyone who downloads TikTok therefore has given all of the personal data on that device, that cell phone, to the Chinese Communist Party. Considering, Nigel, that we at Heritage believe the CCP is the greatest adversary facing the United States, the United Kingdom, free people the world over, we have to draw a line in the sand. And so we're hopeful that with the House passing this today and the Senate hopefully taking this up soon, that this is a shot over the bow, not over TikTok or someone who enjoys using that particular social media channel, but instead it is a shot over the bow of the Chinese Communist Party. We need to do a much better job, particularly we in the UK and the United States, of drawing a line in the sand against the Chinese. Otherwise, they are going to take over Western civilization.
So basically, they have to sell their shares, or a majority stake of their shares, or a compromise gets reached somewhere. But if a compromise gets reached, how can we make sure the tech still isn't stealing data? Very difficult, isn't it?
That is much more difficult, but I have, and I mean this without being flippant at all, I have great faith in American technology innovation, in British technology innovation, that not only can we get the free market side of this right, the acquisition is easy enough, right? But the more complicated part of this, with this guidance offered by our Congress, is essential. And I believe that can be resolved.
Well, I hope that's right, because there's an awful lot of young people in Britain, America, and elsewhere that they live on TikTok, Now, a TikTok spokesman has said